Hey guys, this is James from TeaDB, bringing you InBetweenIsode number 24. So, once again, we have a guest star. Welcome back, Meet.
Thank you.
How have the last 5 minutes been?
They've been great. They've been very peaceful last 5 minutes.
Yeah. So, as you guys can tell, we didn't wait a week and then change back into the same clothes and film this episode. We are filming these back to back.
What are you talking about? This is a month later.
Yeah, this is a month later. So this is a different Wuyi tea from JKTeashop, which is a place that I have literally tried one session of this tea, which is also a Tieluohan, just like last episode, and that's one of the 4 famous bushes. Blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to get too far into that stuff because it's not all that interesting. But I'm really curious to see how this tea compares to the Yunnan sourcing one.
Right. As we already tried, smelling the tea before the brew, I want to say that it smells, I think I like the smell of this tea a lot better. Well, they come very close. Somehow I find this a lot more pleasant.
Yeah, and I would actually agree with that. And so this tea is from 2014. The Yunnan sourcing one was from 2013. Supposedly this tea is medium to heavier roasted, so you see it's brewing up a nice red color.
Right.
And while we wait for that to cool down, I'm going to do one more steep, and then we'll have a smell.
So have you been trying a lot of Wuyis again, or oolongs in general?
Yeah, I just went on a trip, and I recently came back, and I've been drinking my way through a fair amount of Wuyis. I have a big box of them in the corner of my apartment that I'm trying to work through, and also trying hard not to overdo it. But I think this is actually one of the better ones I've ran into, and it's priced very similarly to the Yunnan sourcing one.
Interesting.
Have a smell of that.
This is great. It's a lot. It smells a lot lighter compared to the previous.
Yeah, I'm getting more of those floral notes out a little bit earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I was surprised that they marketed this as medium to heavy roasted, because a lot of the heavier roasted teas, you do have to wait for a while and it will improve. And that's not to say that this tea won't improve over a few years, but it crossed me as very, very approachable right now.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
All right,
so let's go for it.
Cheers. So I would say overall for me, it's coming off across a lot softer than the Yunnan sourcing tea.
Yeah, definitely. I would say it doesn't. It tastes good. It tastes great, but it doesn't leave a very strong impression on me as opposed to the Yunnan sourcing one. That's not to say that I would prefer one over the other. I kind of would like to try both a little more over time and try to decide,
Yeah, that's interesting. And I wonder how much of that has to do with the brewing, as I gave the Yunnan sourcing one a little bit extra time. So let's see how we like this one, and then maybe if it's still coming off soft, let's maybe push the steep time a little bit and just see how it goes.
Right.
Cheers. Cheers. So I think this tea is a bit more complex than the Yunnan sourcing one. Mm-hmm. It's definitely softer. It still has a decent body. I wouldn't say it's a big, heavy hitting tea at all. A little bit floral. Yeah.
That's something I'm interested in as well, is to see how many steeps we get before we get the similar level of floral taste, in this tea. As because one thing is that it's definitely already starting out softer.
Yep, for sure.
It'd be interesting to see.
Yeah, and I'm going to steep this for just a little bit longer this time around.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you normally steep your Wuyi Oolong teas when you're kind of drinking on your own?
I steep. I used to use the similar equipment, but I've changed to a slightly bigger teapot. I like to brew slightly more in the quantity, just because it's a little more convenient at work. I don't want to keep, start increasing the temperature on my teapot every once in a while.
Right. I mean, these cups are pretty darn impractical for work use.
Yeah. So I use a normal coffee cup, and but I find the experience is still very good.
Mm-hmm. And how long do you steep the tea for? Is it usually pretty short like this, or is it a little bit longer?
Good point. I steep it slightly longer, and I go, I start out with maybe 15, 20 seconds, go about 40 seconds, and then the third steep is probably about a minute or slightly longer.
Mm-hmm.
I also use slightly more tea in the individual brew.
Vessel.
Yeah, definitely. Just because I'm going through such large quantity of it.
Mm-hmm. And then it'll just brew that tea over the course of the day, I'm guessing.
Yeah, definitely. I think it takes me about good 15, 20 minutes to go through a cup. I like to go through it slowly, enjoy it, and it's convenient to work. And then I take a break maybe for another 15, 20 minutes. So I get a good 40 minutes out of a brew, and then I go back again and go for another one.
Cool. Yeah, it sounds like a very reasonable way to drink tea for those of you that are looking to bring your tea into the workplace.
Yeah. And what I've found is that actually works, for, as we mentioned in the previous episode, it works very well for my energy levels, because usually by noon or 1 p.m. I'd be ready to go home or fall asleep or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I can work through without any problems.
Cool.
And on the other hand, coffee for me was a bit too aggressive. Instead of just raising my energy levels, it would put me a little higher than that, and that kind of got me jittery, and I couldn't concentrate instead. So the Wuyis are ideal, I would say, for me.
So it just kind of keeps you at like a steady level.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Yeah, I could definitely agree with that.
Yeah. And then there's no question that this is... Personally, I feel like this is a lot more healthier than coffee.
I think so.
Yeah.
And honestly, it can be, well, depending on how much you want to spend. For me, it's probably not cheaper than the average coffee drinker, but I think for most people, especially that are going to Starbucks and dropping anywhere between $3 to $5 a day on that sort of thing, I think it's a very affordable habit.
Oh yeah, it's very affordable. You definitely get a lot more in quantity. Even I think my average daily brew is probably $2 per day, but I get a lot more in quantity, and
you're getting like 6 or 7 cups out of that.
Right.
Yeah.
And I personally like the taste a lot better. So the experience overall is just way better for me.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good to hear. Well, let's see how this one compares.
Mm-hmm.
So it's still quite soft, actually.
Yeah, I'm surprised that usually by this time I would expect it to be a little more leafy, but it's definitely grown, but it's not gotten to a very, I feel like we could do another brew or two before it completely gives out,
Definitely, yeah. And it has very, very soft, slight astringency to it, whereas the other tea, we definitely had to tone down those brews to keep the bitterness and astringency down. This one seems like you can really push it and get a lot of really pleasant flavors out of it. I think texturally, this tea, just the way it evolves kind of in your mouth with mouthfeel, is also pretty interesting too. Just kind of another element to this particular tea.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. I would agree. Another thing I wanted to bring up was, I think in the last episode we compared the Shuexian and Roguewei and the Tieluohan from Yunnan sourcing that we were talking about. And I feel like if you liked the Shuexian, from Yunnan sourcing, then you would, if you wanted to get a slightly better quality tea, then I would go with the Yunnan sourcing Tieluohan.
Mm-hmm.
But if you like the Roguewei, then you could try this, as it's a lot more softer and lighter.
Okay.
In its brews.
So you'd
it
say
compares well
with the Roguewei.
Yeah, definitely. The other one is slightly bitter, and I want to say Shuexian is kind of rough and bitter, whereas the Tieluohan is soft and bitter.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes any sense.
And where would Sea Dyke fit into this whole conversation?
Oh.
Actually, the previous episode before I brought you on, I actually reviewed a Sea Dyke tea. So,
during Christmas break, I had a ton of Sea Dyke, and it compares very well to the Shuexian, but it's definitely slightly lower grade, I would say.
okay. So it's more in the rough.
Yeah.
Rough and super cheap category.
Definitely. But it has its own, enjoyment value, I would say. I went through a ton of that tea, and it was great, though. I think I got 2 more boxes from you, so I still have those to look forward to.
At some point. Yeah, I bought 6 boxes of it, and then I drank half of one box. And it cost me $10 total. But yeah, it's like the it's like the cheap ramen of Wuyi Oolongs.
Yeah. I think even though it's cheap, it's definitely still pretty good. I would it stands pretty closely to the classic Shuexian that I got from Yunnan sourcing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I can't remember what year I got from the Yunnan sourcing one. I want to say it's 2014.
Yeah, it probably is.
Yeah, and man, that tea brews fast. You have to get a quick 10-second brew at least the first time you go for
the
it.
The Yunnan sourcing Shuexian.
No, I meant the Sea Dyke actually.
Yeah.
But it was definitely a great tea while I anticipated my Yunnan sourcing order.
Yeah. Just to kind of get your feet wet and just practice brewing. I mean, you could easily brew that tea. He's talking about the $1.50 Sea Dyke, by the way.
Yeah.
So you can easily have a session that's a nickel, and so you can just good to practice with, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Anyways, I think that just about wraps up InBetweenIsode number 24. Let us know how you liked this episode, if you liked hearing about Wuyi Oolongs, if you appreciated Meat here, if you think he's garbage, I can send him away. He'll never come back again. I can kick him out of my apartment, just uninvite him from everything, so
please
let
leave
me
comments.
know.
He will definitely make sure to forward those comments to me.
Yeah, I will, especially the bad ones. Anyways, yeah, thank you for appearing and putting up with my playful crap.
Hey,
and,
thanks a lot. This was, both of the teas were delicious.
Yep.
So it's great.
Yeah.
I think I'll definitely try more of both of those.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for coming on, and we will see you guys next time. Cheers.
Right. Cheers.
Cool. That was good.